Hello, everyone. This is episode number 24 of The Power of Practice. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about how to overcome the challenges of being and becoming a visionary leader with the gorgeous and the amazing Andy Lyons. So once again, welcome everybody to The Power of Practice on Air. I'm your hostess, Lisa Ingalls. I'm an author, a speaker, and a mindset mastery coach, and I'm the founder of Inner State Coaching, where I help visionary leaders to create radical change in the world by first creating radical change within themselves. So you can learn more about me and my services by visiting www.innerstatecoaching.com. And while you're there, feel free to pick up my free report on my 5-step practice for creating radical change. So in my 20 years of working as a mindset mastery coach, it's become very, very clear to me that creating radical change, whether it's in our health and our wealth and our happiness, whether it's in the world, isn't about doing certain things. Rather, it's about doing things in a certain way. And that, of course, requires some practice, and that's what this show is all about. It's a 20-minute-ish, I like to say 20-ish minute show. We try to keep it on the shorter side, and I interview guest experts from around the world across a wide range of topics, from health and wealth and personal development and business and relationships and everything in between, and I ask them all one question, which is, what one practice can you share with us that can create a radical breakthrough? And it's through these practices that you, the viewer, the listener, can gain the tools that you need to turn your stumbling blocks into stepping stones. Now, all that being said, we're going to throw that to the side for today, because today's show is going to be a slightly different format. So instead of sharing one specific practice with you today, my guest, Andy Lyons, and I will be talking about the challenges of being and becoming a visionary leader and how we can use the power of practice to do our really good work in the world and to awaken human and social potential. Now, if you're joining us live today, hello, thank you. We're happy to have you here, and we'd love for you to start typing your comments into the comment box. We see some of those comments are already coming through, so thank you. We want you to be engaged in this conversation. What are some of your challenges that you're coming up against? And do you have any practices that you'd like to share with us? We want to hear, we want you involved in this discussion as well. So I believe that everybody is born with the capacity to be a visionary, whether you realize it or not. Maybe you're a visionary in your family or in your community or in the world. We all have that visionary capacity. We were born with it. The thing is that it's really just a matter of having an unshakable belief in your vision, despite what your outer circumstances what might be. And number two, I believe it's also about engaging in some type of daily practice that reinforces that truth, regardless of those outer appearances, so that we as visionaries can inspire, so that we can enroll actually others in our vision and do our work in the world. Now, most books and articles that are out there that I see, that I read, focus on the qualities and the characteristics of being a visionary leader, but I believe that it's equally important to address and recognize that emerging visionary leaders and current visionary leaders and thought leaders do all face certain challenges, and that if those challenges are unattended to, it's going to stop us dead in our tracks from because we feel overwhelmed, because we feel stressed out and lonely, and it will keep us from doing the work that we're really here to do. So today, I've invited not just my friend, but also my colleague and the founder of Possibility Partners, Andy Lyons, to join me in this discussion about how to overcome the inherent challenges of being and becoming a visionary leader. Now, Andy herself is a very seasoned visionary leader, having 4 successful businesses to her credit, in addition to being the hostess of and producing the Bring Back Desire Hangout on Air show and podcast, which has now been put to rest or handed over. So, but she's had so much success in doing that. And if that's not enough, she's also written and published her own book, which is now on Amazon. It's a best-selling book within the category, I believe, of relationship and marriage. And that book is Love and Lasting: How to Stay Tuned In and Turned On in Marriage. So welcome to the show, Andy.
Oh, Lisa, thank you so much for having me. I could sit here all day and listen to you. I'm telling you, that introduction, right, everybody? How about that? If you were sitting there going, okay, it's daylight, great, but then you hear Lisa start going, it's wow.
Aww.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you for having me today. And hi, everyone.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I mean, okay, we're going to just say a really quick short story of how Andy and I had an accidental hurl. And because we're talking about visionary leaders and being and becoming a visionary leaders and the hurdles that we have to overcome and the practices, I think it was so fitting to have you as my guest for today, because how Andy and I had an accidental hurl is because, well, Andy, I'm going to let, I feel like I'm always telling this from my perspective. I'm going to let you tell the story, actually.
Well, we were at a phenomenal event about visionary leaders, and we were side by side. It was one of those 4-day events where you move around the room a lot, and you have dyads with people, and you meet all sorts of people. And she and I were together. We did a process together that was very powerful and wonderful. And then during a break, I turn around and talk to the woman behind me I mentioned to her, oh, you and your business would do phenomenal on Hangouts. And Lisa, this delicious goddess sitting beside me, goes, oh, I do Hangouts. And I have to say, the whole time I spoke to her and I saw her name, there was something in the back of my mind going, oh, I think I know this person, but I don't know why. And then when she said, I do Hangouts, I grabbed her tag and I went, oh my gosh, Lisa, I just read your post. Thanks to Ronnie Binzer for sharing it, and it was phenomenal. And there we were. We knew so much about each other already, but then we realized we were Google Plusers and Hangout on Air goddesses.
I know, it was so funny. And it was, like I said, we were in this it was called the Wealthy Visionaries Conference. And there we were sitting right next to each other, being our little wealthy visionary selves. And it was no accident that we ended up sitting right next to each other.
It was so cool.
It was. And so, Andy, what I wanted to do was open this into a discussion with us and with our viewers here around first of all, the inherent challenges of what we face being a visionary leader, but maybe first becoming, because I think that there is an awakening happening right now where people are discovering within themselves, oh my God, I think I'm supposed to be doing something bigger than what I'm doing right now. And there are challenges there. And then there are the challenges for people like yourself who've already had 4 successful businesses and you have a lot of vision, you're doing a lot of things in the world, and there's the challenges of the current thought leaders and visionaries as well. So what do you think are some of the challenges on both sides there, sort of emerging as a visionary and the current being a visionary?
Well, I think many of us have grown up in the patriarchal society, so where we see these large corporate environments that rule the world, so to speak. So first of all, for us to be called to do something outside our comfort zone, which is going to work and participating on a team and perhaps leading within the workforce, and to do something else can be overwhelming because we have this vision of, well, 1,000, 10,000 employees, right? Running,
right,
screaming from the room. So a lot of times folks don't understand what it takes to be a visionary, that it really is just like you tell your kids when they look at the bike that they want to drive, well, let's start with training wheels, okay? It's the same thing. You have to love and nurture your vision. And a lot of times on the journey, the vision takes different forms. And so also another misconception and challenge that visionary leaders can have is, first of all, doubting their vision, thinking small about their vision, and also getting too latched onto their vision, being a certain way and having a certain outcome. So I always encourage folks to remember that everything you're doing provides contrast to what you want and don't want. So there are no mistakes, and a lot of times you need to start a business or have a visionary experience within the family, within the community, that will then pull back more layers to a vision that looks more like this over here, and then that pulls back the layers to a vision that looks like this over here. It's never ending. What it is that you're tapping into sort of your universal inspirational energy, and you're sharing it with the world, which of course brings other challenges. And that's what Lisa and I love to share with people is, okay, that's a great challenge to have, and here's how you can ride that journey, ride that wave, deal with the murky or navigate the murky waters of certain things. You know, it's all normal, and it's not all about the exit strategy.
Absolutely. And I'm going to pull up one that Heidi Horling says is overwhelmed and stressed out visionary leaders. So good that you addressed this topic, Lisa Ingalls and Andy Lyons. And so I want to bring that one to the forefront, which is that overwhelmed and stressed out. So one of the challenges that you indirectly talked about just then, Andy, is this overwhelm. As visionaries, we have a lot of ideas. Whether you're an emerging visionary or you're someone who's a current thought leader and doing big things in the world, I know for me, I'm inspired by ideas all the time. I get these downloads of like, oh my gosh. So on the one hand, if you're an emerging visionary, you might think, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start because I have all of these ideas. I don't understand how they fit together. I don't understand. I can't see clearly what my path might be. That might be one of the challenges of being overwhelmed as an emerging visionary. And then when you're already doing your work in the world, the overwhelm comes from, I have so much on my plate now. My vision was so big. I have so much on my plate that it's also overwhelming, and I'm stressed out now. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that.
Oh, I think it absolutely happens early on, in the middle, at the end, in all parts as a visionary leader. And I think one of the best investments you can make, and I really believe in investing, I believe in having working capital for your vision, whether that's raising money, getting loans, whatever, and having the working capital for your knowledge. So hiring a coach is absolutely key. You can decide what kind of coach that is, but you need someone to filter your ideas. Especially if you're new, you need guidance on how to take that dream and give birth to that dream, because there's so many different components to it. And then as a seasoned entrepreneur or visionary leader, you need to have someone who can give you some feedback, because a lot of times you get wrapped up in your own dialogue and how you want it to be, and even though your customers or clients or the society is giving you certain feedback, it may not be what you need to hear. And so, or if things are going wayward and wobbly, you need to have someone help you dissect, well, what is it that's not working? Because sometimes we're so close to our vision. And it's always a learning process, so I encourage everybody to be so gentle with themselves. And if you can offload anything, if you can delegate, do not hesitate, because these are things that you don't need to be worrying your pretty little head about, so to speak, whether it's pesky figures or, in my case, graphics. I can't do graphics for nothing.
Me neither. I hand that one over. And along with the having a coach thing, I think it's really that brings another, to me, and one of those other challenges that visionary leaders face, which I was talking to someone else, Jessica Hadari, who's the founder of FemTalks here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And when I was talking to her, we were talking about this feeling of being the lone wolf or the lone Wolverine out there in the world. As a visionary, you have these ideas, and that's where the coaching comes in, I think, as a very valuable thing, because you don't feel alone in your process of trying to sift out what it is that you're doing in the world. But sometimes, I know along in my journey, it's been like, well, people don't quite get me because I have this vision. I know what I want to do, and I might tell my family or my friends, and they're like, you're sort of crazy, Lisa. Like, why would you want to do that again? And having that support, having the support there for you is absolutely necessary. finding the coach that is good for you, and also finding a community of other people who support what it is that you're doing.
Right.
So, yeah.
I call that the personal board of advisors. When I started my food manufacturing business, I didn't know nothing about birth and no food, that's for sure. Shelf life, all these things I had to learn, manufacturing, how to get distribution going. So I was able to align myself with some wonderful people who had experience in what I was doing. So I could, and yet they had a vested interest because I had brought them on as an advisor to the business. Lots of people love to do that. They love to help. They love to know they're adding value in some way. And if you've got the next new widget or software that's going to take over the world, then yes, you give them a monetary reason to be on your board of advisors or a stakeholder reason. But mostly, a lot of us love to mentor. And I think it's very important that we give back in a mentoring type of way. So feel free to reach out to people who are in your industry, who have had experience and can help you along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And within the that realm of, okay, what are the practices that we can be doing? We've already mentioned a whole bunch of things that you can do, and those are things you can do, but a practice, bringing it back to, as a visionary, we're here in the world to do, we each have our unique gift to give to the world, and it's my belief that there's, I mean, and there could be any number of things. This is just my perspective. Is there's basically 5 different areas that I work for myself and with the clients that I work with, and one of the practices, or not one of the practices, but one of the areas is around our thoughts and our thinking. We need to be able to think with the mind of a visionary, which is much different than thinking with our, pedestrian mind, is the way that I would say.
Our follower mind, yes.
Yeah. And then being able to see with the eyes of a visionary, which means we're seeing things from a different perspective. We're seeing things differently than, again, the pedestrian, I'll just use that term, the pedestrian perspective. And then being able to communicate or speak with the voice of a visionary, and that speaking and connecting with the heart of a visionary, I believe, go together. That's how Andy and I have both used Hangouts and podcasts really well to speak and connect with our voices and our hearts. And then also the practice of acting as a visionary would act. So I just sort of threw out a big scope there. But Andy, what I'd love you to do is anything that comes to you as a personal practice as a visionary.
Well, personal practice, I'm right there with you on the thoughts. It's key. I'm a write it down, make it happen kind of gal. So whatever those thoughts are, really it's about training your brain to participate with you on this endeavor, because doubt and fear and hopeless, they can be riding right along with you shotgun just fine. And you have to know how to embrace them and say, thank you for sharing, instead of going, I'm jumping out the window. And really, you just can't avoid them. And how I always describe this, Lisa, is I say, okay, you're making a delicious chocolate cake, right? And you're putting in the eggs and the butter and the sugar, all your favorite ingredients. But one of the most important ingredients is probably baking soda or salt. Well, I love salt, so baking soda tastes terrible, right? That to me is kind of like the fear. So I always imagine myself taking that baking soda and blending it on in. That's what I do with fear and doubt, and that's a personal practice. I don't avoid them because it doesn't work, because they get louder and they get scarier. And I find it so important to take those fears and talk to them. So tell me about that fear. Tell me more. Be curious. Let them get it all out. And instead of going, oh, my God, be the observer. Hear them out and say, thank you so much for sharing. I agree. And hey, come on, let's ride shotgun together. I got this, though. I really, really do. And then feeding my brain with thought leaders who remind me, whether you'll see Gay Hendricks here with his Leap of Faith, or the Write It Down book, which I just love, or Art of Possibility, or All You Can Do Is All You Can Do, and All You Can Do Is Enough. These are really important things to read. And then I think it's very important to find a community of leaders, and that's what's the beauty of the internet and the beauty of social media. Is I hop over to Lead with Giants here on Google+. You can find them on LinkedIn too, and it's filled with leaders who are about servant leadership. They're about raising leaders up in the world. And I read their posts, I hear their advice, I chat back and forth, and they are wonderful role models for me when I'm not really tapped into feeling like I'm a visionary leader.
Yeah, I think it's so true. Connecting with those people that are doing the work in the world and being of service. I'm in that community as well. Lead with Giants. So highly recommend if you're in Google Plus much and you're a visionary leader, go join that community. You're going to meet some really great people over there. And I'm looking to see. Actually, I want to pull in any comments as I'm going to take a moment here to look at some of the comments. I know quite a few going on here. And well, Dave Moore has one strict rule that he adheres to, which is I always carry a notebook around with me and write down everything. Ideas, thoughts, plans, names of people I meet, the things that were said that flicked a switch as much as possible. And to add on to that, he says, it's impossible to remember everything you come up with 24/7, and I review and look at what is workable and question why some are not. Stated as a true visionary there, Dave. Thank you for that contribution. It's so true.
I love that, Dave, and mwah to you, Dave Moore, who also has a great community, HP Transformers. I mean, just amazing. And he's a great leader in so many ways. I learn from Dave Moore all the time. And he's absolutely right. I don't care how old you are. I mean, I know I'm older, so yes, writing things down has to happen because I'll never remember it. But it's absolutely true. When you write it down, it creates the thought to expand and blossom even more into something. And Lisa, you said something earlier. We are all visionary leaders. I know it's hard to imagine that, but just use it, with your pet or your kids. You are painting a picture of vision. You're using your wonderful leadership skills and your powerful words. You can do that with a dream that you have, because it's never, ever, ever too late to pursue your dreams.
It's true, and I totally agree with you. To be a visionary just requires some practice. Again, the power of practice, and first of all, believing that you are by birthright a visionary. We're all gifted with the faculty of imagination, and being a visionary just requires you to tap into your faculty of imagination to be able to see in your mind the possibility. And then with that takes me to possibility partner right here, Andy Lyons. I mean, tell us a little bit more about possibility partners, Andy.
Oh, possibility partners, so much fun, because every day I get to share, and I call it C-suite, senior level, business strategy and solutions with entrepreneurial adventurers. Whether you're in the midst of launching your vision, or you are branding your vision or building your vision, there's advice that it's hard to find. And a lot of times it's a 30-minute phone call where, I don't know about you, but a lot of times if I just talk it out with somebody, I've solved the problem or figured it out. But you need somebody who understands your level. And I have so much experience in the entrepreneurial world and the challenges. I have a deep understanding of human frailty and sometimes how things can get in our way, but also I'm really about getting it done. And so that's why I call it my Andy-licious advice for entrepreneurial adventurers. It's really hardcore business strategies and solutions combined with wonderful enthusiasm and inspiration, because I get very excited every time someone calls me. Don't call me if you don't want your vision to go someplace, because I get very excited when someone shares their possibility with me. But I also bring, an MBA in years from an $8 million VC-funded .com business I helped found in '98 to the food manufacturing business that wonderful angel investors helped me grow nationally, as well as Bring Back Desire, which I grew from 0 to 35,000 visitors a month. And I did that, of course, on my charming personality. But there's all different ways to grow a business, and I love to, find out what folks are doing and share my own skill sets and helping them move it forward.
And people can find you I'll let you.
Yeah, well, I tell them andylyons.com because possibility has tons of possibilities for typos.
Mm-hmm.
And so andylyons.com will get you there. I'm on Twitter, which is my favorite social media platform, at Andy Lyons, and that's ANDELYONS. And of course, Google Plus. I love sharing here. Hangouts on Tuesdays, and I do podcasts on Thursdays on Blog Talk Radio and Facebook. And well, you can, social butterflies comes with such a responsibility.
I'm going to pull up a final comment here from Kim Boltman. She says, writing it down, riding shotgun, making it happen, or real. Yes, ma'am, Andy Lyons. Visionaries would do well to watch this HOA, Lisa Ingalls. Lots of info in little time. Thank you so much, Kim, for that comment. We really appreciate
Kim
it.
Is great. Everybody has to check out what Kim does. She's amazing.
Excellent. So we're going to wrap up the show here, this episode of The Power of Practice. Definitely an engaging discussion on the challenges of being and becoming a visionary leader, and as both Andy and I are huge proponents of getting the help that you need, the support that you need as you move into your vision. And as you bring your vision into the world and take action on your vision, that's the only way I believe that we are going to support the awakening of human and social potential. And it's really an exciting time that we're at right now, I believe, in the history of humanity, essentially. So I want to thank you, Andy, for coming and joining me today on The Power of Practice.
Thank you, Lisa. I love sharing all of this wonderful information with you, and of course all you wonderful viewers. We love you and we appreciate your time and listening in. I hope you found some nuggets. Stay in alignment with the folks who best serve you and your vision, and remember, visions change and reform themselves. It's okay. Keep going with it.
Beautifully said. And thanks again to all of you joining us live today, and those who are listening and replay. Please do be sure to leave your comments, continue the discussion. Andy and I have no problem continuing this discussion and keeping it alive with you. That's what we want to do. It really is my belief that each one of us is capable of changing the world, of awakening human and social potential, and achieving those quantum transformations and quantum breakthroughs. It's just that sometimes we need a little bit of support, we need a little bit of help, some tools and resources, and that's really what this show is all about. So just as a final reminder in closing out here, you can visit me at www.innerstatecoaching.com to download your free report and to learn more about my programs and services there. Hope you all walk away with something that you can bite your teeth into. I think you could, based on what I see in the comments. And we'll look forward to seeing you all next time.